argue against that.
You took my pen.
How long are these speeches?
Oh, wow.
Oh, I wrote a note for you on my other sheet of flow paper.
Here, were rebuttals 2 or 4 minutes?
4.
How do you make them set?
I know they're not.
No,
We never argued over crowd.
you're just watching her.
Yeah, she did. She did.
Who did what?
It doesn't
She
matter.
argued over crowding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
did. I responded to
You
it.
did. Doesn't matter. Okay.
Are y'all ready?
Yep.
I'm going to talk slower this time. Alright, I'm going to...
4 minutes.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to start out with the counter plan, then we can get on to reasons to prefer, and I might get to some funny stuff at the end if I have time, which I probably won't, because I'm going to be talking slow, so let's start off with the counter plan. Alright, I basically only have 2 responses, because they basically only have 2 arguments. My first response is about due process. Now, basically, here they said that it's a concern if you vote for the counter plan because there's no way of knowing whether or not our due process is going to be enforced in Guantanamo Bay. My response is that the enforcement for our counter plan is exactly the same as the enforcement for the affirmative team's plan. My partner touched on this a little bit in his speech. We're basically copying their enforcement. If they're saying this isn't enough, they basically just shot themselves in the foot because that's what they're using as well. We're saying there's not going to be torture in Guantanamo, which is actually currently a law. We're reinforcing that. No torture at Guantanamo Bay. They'll be given due process of law. They can have a trial. It's okay. I'm not distracted by them whispering. And all this other nice stuff that they should have rights to. They can have that under our counter plan, just like they'll have it under the affirmative team's plan. We have the exact same enforcement. My second response, dealing with torture, they said basically torture will still happen. It has been made illegal to torture, specifically in Guantanamo Bay.
It's a loud cricket.
It has been made illegal to torture. We're basically reestablishing that torture will not be happening at Guantanamo Bay. I'd like to move on to the reasons to prefer. First of all, talking about security. This was, as my partner mentioned, dropped by the affirmative team. My second response is about the overcrowding. Again, in the status quo, we're having riots at prisons. We're having prisoners even being released because we do not have enough beds to hold them. We don't have enough area to hold them. We don't have enough prisons to hold them. Even a small increase is going to jeopardize public safety. It's going to jeopardize our security, and we can't afford to do that when it's already a problem. My third response is that, basically my third response talks about how great our counter plan is. Our counter plan is so awesome because it couples, not only does it couple the anti-torture and upholding due process of law, it goes back to the founding values of our country and upholds those and makes them apply to people who are not from our country as well. It also has a lot of humor, and because we're renaming the prisons that other countries think we're, great, funny people. Basically, if you vote for the utopian playground of the happy killer jihadists, you will be, whatever Peter said about soft power in his last speech was really amazing. I didn't write any of it down, but that will apply. And in addition, we won't have security being violated. We're going to have public safety being upheld. How much time do I have left?
A minute.
Well, let's do voting issues. Voting issue. No, you do them in the 1 hour sometimes.
She can do it.
Thank you. Voting issue number 1 is public safety, because we all want to be safe and happy. Yeah, basically that. Okay, under the affirmative team's plan, we have public safety being jeopardized because we have happy killer jihadists potentially roaming around the streets because there's no room for them in the prisons. Under the negative team's counter plan, we have space for them that is guaranteed, and we, the second voting issue, you have no idea what's going on behind your head, do you? Okay. Well, anyway, the second voting issue is good too, but I'm just going to forget about that.
Wait, are you guys going to have more voting issues?
Maybe.
Public
Ask
safety.
Peter, I don't know.
Public safety, that's all she said though?
Yeah, I hope we're
You're not encouraging me about the dates.
Oh my gosh! Make her goal. Here, Lydia, that's
Okay.
so mean. Sorry, I'm sorry, Lydia, you got stuck with that. I'm used to it.
I did slow it.
Are you guys ready?
Yes, we're ready.
Time ready? And Josh?
I keep
Awesome. Okay. Last time I checked, when a jihadist is in prison and being tortured, they're not happy. Okay? So I'm going to prove this. I'm going to go down and show why under the United Team's counter plan, torture is not being addressed. It's not being solved. So first off, I'm going to go down the flow really quickly. Peter's and Lydia's. First off, they said justification 1, that the countries that we're saying oppose Guantanamo Bay don't actually oppose Guantanamo in actuality itself, but oppose its actions. And we agree with this completely. But the fact is that they're not solving the first point under the second point under the second justification of torture. Yes, they're solving the right to the trial, but there is still going to be torture. Why? Because they are doing nothing different than the status quo. Now, their response is saying, well, we're keeping all of your enforcement, so if we can't claim the solving of torture, then you can't either. But they forgot the fourth justification. We're closing Guantanamo Bay. Obviously, there's going to be no more torture because it's closed. They're not closing it. So, yes, they're addressing all our rights to a court of law, but they're not addressing torture. They're keeping the same statutes, and then now their second response is, well, it's illegal, so they can't do it. Last time I checked, because something is legal doesn't mean you can't do it. Yes, it's wrong to do it, and we both established that, but you can still do it. And they are actually doing it. So they're doing nothing else. They're not enforcing anything. It will still be done under their counterplan. So now let's look on to the soft power, all of Peter's soft power arguments. First off, he has a lot of crazy arguments here. Primarily that soft power creates another 9/11, and secondly that soft power that the U.S. will cause the U.S. destruction by China and India and other superpowers. So first off, we're actually not using soft power, we're just gaining more soft power. Now, if you want, you can think of soft power as better relations, okay? So really what we're doing was just getting better relations. So if need be, we could use soft power. But in a sense, we're going to be friends with these countries. We're not going to go and be saying, we have soft power over you, so you have to do what we want. So we're going to be friends with them. So Great Britain is one case. We're not even talking about Russia, actually. I've never brought that up in the round. I've never brought even that Russia opposes Guantanamo. So really, I don't think any of those arguments matter. So now let's look at their overcrowding argument. They said that because with our affirmative plan, we're going to have overcrowding in public U.S. prisons. And so therefore, there's going to be riots and mobs of these criminals, and public safety will be harmed. Now, first off, it's only 30%. Under our 1AC, we said that 30% of criminals in Gitmo are actually guilty. And I don't know actually how many detainees are held in Gitmo, but I know it to be not that many people. So, plus, the United States government can use discretion to disperse these criminals over several prisons. It's not like we're saying, so let's say that we're going to send 100 criminals are found guilty. We're not going to say, okay, all of you 100 criminals, are you going to go to this maximum security prison? But, oh wait, they only have room for 20 or 30. Well, that means there's going to be riots. We can disperse them. Now, secondly, I have actually never heard of or seen a riot or a mob on any of the news. I've never seen actual prison having riots or mobs. And I don't think